Some people believe that the nature of God never changes and is eternal. When you read the Bible cover to cover, something fascinating stands out. The way God is described seems to change over time. Early on in the Old Testament, God often appears as a tribal God, one who stands with Israel, hates who they hate, and fights their battles. But by the time we reach the New Testament, we see a very different message. Love your enemies, forgive endlessly, and turn the other cheek. So the question is, does God's nature change? Or is it our perception of God that evolves? In the Old Testament, God is often portrayed as deeply tied to Israel's fortunes. He's not just their protector. He wages war on their behalf. For example, in Exodus, God brings plagues upon Egypt and kills the firstborn sons during Passover. In the same book, he drowns the Egyptian army in the Red Sea as they chase Israel. In Joshua, God gives Israel miraculous help in battle, extending the daylight so Jacob's forces can keep striking down the Amorites. These stories present a God who is not only tribal, but also harsh, punishing entire peoples simply because they oppose Israel. This image of God is one of power, wrath, and loyalty, but also one that makes modern readers wrestle with the morality of these actions. It feels like the God of Israel hates who Israel hates, and the boundaries of divine love seem limited to one people. But then you step into the New Testament, and the voice we hear through Jesus is radically different. In Matthew, Jesus tells his followers to love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. In Luke, he says if someone strikes you on one cheek, offer the other. The entire Sermon on the Mount is built around humility, forgiveness, and radical love. This is not a tribal God. This is a God who embraces the whole world, even those considered outsiders and enemies. The circle of divine love is suddenly wider, no longer tied just to Israel, but reaching to every nation and every person. Instead of commanding destruction, the emphasis is on reconciliation. Instead of vengeance, the call is to mercy. So what do we do with this stark difference? On one hand, you have a God who slays enemies, commands conquest, and shows loyalty to Israel alone. On the other hand, you have Jesus teaching love, forgiveness, and compassion for everyone, including those who hurt you. Some scholars argue that God's nature really does shift between the testaments, evolving from tribal deity to universal God. Others suggest that God's nature doesn't change at all. It's human perception that grows. Maybe the ancient Israelites, struggling for survival in a violent world, experienced God primarily as a warrior and protector. But by the time of Jesus, humanity was ready to understand God in a deeper, more universal way, through love, sacrifice, and grace. So does the nature of God change in the Bible? Maybe not. Maybe what changes is our ability to perceive Him. In the Old Testament, Israel saw God as their defender in a tribal world. In the New Testament, Jesus reveals God as Father to all, whose deepest nature is love. And perhaps the Bible isn't just the story of God. It's the story of humanity growing in our understanding of Him. From wrath to mercy, from tribal to universal, from vengeance to forgiveness. The same God, perceived through different eyes, in different times, by people at different stages of understanding. And maybe that's the real lesson. Our perception of God changes as we change.